funding and to mandate sexual violence prevention training for all USC counselors. And part of our platform this year is to look at expanding that, expanding it to clubs, to varsity athletics, to different communities on campus, to maybe the softening program, to really make sure we all do our part to combat systemic rape culture and really promote a culture of consent, and to look out for each other and really identify warning signs when we see them. Another big group that we worked with this year was, like I mentioned, the Mature Students Association. Right, we reached out to the coordinator this year and we said, how can we do our part to make sure that your community is included? Because, you know, from those mature students that we talked to this year and the ones that come by our group, they emphasize how much of an outsider they feel like. One of the stories that really stuck out with us and why we're very passionate about this was, you know, something that while we were building this motion with Brianne this year, when we started off, she told us in September, three mature students have already dropped out of university. You know, they just came for 3 months, and then for like less than a month, they couldn't deal with it anymore. By the time we finished that motion and we passed it to the USC, that number was 5, right? And so for us, this was a huge crisis on campus, a huge group that was just going ignored, and no one had ever engaged with them before. And that was why it's such an important group for Jared and I, and why there's so much of their data reflecting our platform. And then another group that we worked with this year, the Muslim Students Association. So I met with the president this year and I talked about how can we, you know, do better to support your community. And what we did with them was we looked at getting another prayer space for them on the north side of campus by where natural science, physics and astronomy, and biology and geographical sciences were. And why I really was passionate about this was because she actually took me to look at the prayer space that Muslim students were using in that area in order to be able to balance their classes with you know, the necessity of their religion to pray at certain times of the day. And I was insulted with the fact that Western had pushed them to the point where they had to use literally a concrete, empty staircase in order to practice their faith, and that is so inappropriate and unacceptable to me, which is why it's part of our platform, which is why we want to engage with that community to make sure that we actually bring about getting that room there, and it's something that I've had continuing conversations with my dean about doing. Another group that Jared worked very closely with, and this is because he's part of this faith, and what I think really pushed him to do this was following the Pittsburgh shooting at the synagogue. As a Jewish individual himself, he really wanted to make sure that the USC had a definition in their community of practice about how do we define anti-Semitism, right? And then I think we adapted a definition of it that was recognized universally as a gold standard, being able to actually call out anti-Semitism when we see it on our campus. And following the passing of that motion, I reached out to the president of the MSA and I said, this was passed for Jewish students. Is there something like this that you and your community would like to see for Muslim students to define Islamophobia so that if we see it on this campus, we can call it out as well? So, yeah, I think that's generally what we've done. I think if you want me to keep going, we can kind of talk about what we have in our platform, but a lot of it also reflects the work that we continue to do, and it is available on our website. But yeah, definitely working with minority students, bringing those new perspectives from these communities that previously haven't been reflected, is definitely something that Jared and I are very committed to.
Thank you.
Sweet. Sorry, just one question.
How much more time do we have left? Just
I think this will be a last question and then we're good. Yeah.
I was just wondering how you plan, if you and Jared were voted in, how you guys plan to keep in contact with the councils, because I do feel like sometimes there is a bit of a disconnect between the USC and the councils across campus, especially with one as small as FIMS, where we've only got one rep. I was just wondering if you have any plans to keep us engaged in the USC, keep us connected.
Yeah, for sure, and I think that's definitely something very important. This year as a faculty president, I really appreciated when Danny and Mitch came out and said, let's have roundtables together. Let me come and speak to one of your faculty council meetings. Having that line of communication, I think utilizing faculty councils as a way to kind of really understand and see the perspectives of different students is definitely something the USC executive should engage with more. For me and Jared, if we are elected, we definitely want to look at continuing that. Look at continuing to have these roundtables with the presidents, looking at continuing to ask and reach out to faculty councils to come and speak at your meetings. Beyond that, maybe looking at even having these meetings and maybe town halls with the entire executive, not just the presidents of each faculty council. Looking at the fact that we could even make this kind of like a monthly thing where the executives, at least one of us, comes to every council, takes questions, hears feedback from you and your students about what you guys need. The USC is a proportionally representative system, and I think that oftentimes, unfortunately, that smaller faculties as a result do get left out with the fact that music only has 1 seat, film only has 1 seat, arts only has 2. But if you look at our voting record, if you look at what Jared and I have done on council as councilors, is that we've always made sure that whatever, even though we represented science and social side, that when we voted on issues, when we spoke on issues, that we always really tried our best to take into account the concerns of smaller faculties like FAM. You know, one big example, Radio Western, as a lot of people from my faculty ask, why did you voice your support for Radio Western when it's not something our constituents use? You represent science, and my response to that was, I may represent science, but everything I do on this council affects everyone at this school. And I know how important Radio Western was to a lot of individuals in FAM, and so that's why I fought very hard to preserve it. And when the referendum came out, I supported the view that they had of 1025. So you know, for Jared and I, continuing this relationship, especially with smaller faculties, is something that we value and that we will continue to value should we are elected.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thank you guys so much for having me. Sorry again, I was a little late, but thank you so much. I look forward to engaging with you guys for the next 2 weeks. I'll be at my booth.
Thank you. Okay, so why don't we take a 5-minute just like break